Hello, my name is Tyler from the Professor Podcast. In today's episode, I'm joined with James and Allison Wilson, who have a history with the showbiz and fairground businesses. So, hello.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. Hi.
Yes.
And Alison, were you originally from Arbroath, or?
Well, I was born in Dundee,
Yeah.
but I've spent a lot of my life here
Yeah.
and travelled with the fair.
Oh, yeah. What was that like?
Loved it.
Yeah.
I really loved it. I travelled until I was 19 years of age.
Yeah.
And then my father bought a house. I lived in a caravan.
Yeah.
When I was 19, my father bought a house. We
Mhm.
moved into the house, but we still travelled.
Yeah.
But we just went over to visited the different places, and then came back here
Yeah.
after work.
Mm.
We travelled round Edinburgh and also this area.
Yeah.
Yes, I absolutely loved it.
What was the fair called?
O'Brien's.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Your grandfather was Henry O'Brien, wasn't he?
Yes, my grandfather was Henry
Yeah.
O'Brien.
Right. So that was your family's business then, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. My dad, nearly all the places we went to, he was the lessee.
Mm.
He used
That's
to
the
rent.
person who
Yeah.
runs the fair.
Yes, yes.
And James, what was your family history? Because you said you were from Great Yarmouth.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
also from a fairground
Yeah.
background, many generations, like Allison as well. Going back, we trace them back to the early 1800s.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's fairgrounds on all sides of my family. My grandfather, on my mother's side, was Guess. He was born in Blantyre on a
Okay.
fairground in Blantyre,
Mhm.
with the Scottish connection as well.
Yeah.
And what happened is that his family operated boxing booths, boxing shows,
Yeah.
and menageries, which was like the forerunner of the circus,
Yeah.
as it were. But they were very famous in show circles. He travelled from Scotland down to the south of England, over to the Channel Islands,
Yeah.
and even to Europe, France. He was well known with his boxing, and he was also a promoter, boxing promoter. Used to put shows on at the Sporting Club
Yeah.
in London. But we kind of lean towards my father's family. His mother was a Botton family, Botton, and they were very famous show people around the London area.
Yeah.
But back many years ago, back in the I think it was about the early 60s, the family bought two amusement parks, one at Skegness
Mhm.
and one at Great Yarmouth.
Right.
And basically they needed as many as the family as what they could to make a fair,
Yeah.
to have the equipment. So basically we went from travelling on the fairgrounds to Great Yarmouth, which was a permanent resort.
Yeah.
I grew up there on the amusement park,
Mhm.
and my father ventured out into different things. We had a garage in Norfolk and a caravan site. Then we moved back into the business. We was kind of in it at the same time,
Yeah.
but we went to a place called Hemsby outside of Great Yarmouth,
Oh, okay.
and we had a small fairground there, and I actually helped build the first amusement arcade, a wooden structure about 100 and odd feet long,
Mm.
and we opened it up with a few fairground rides, etc., and it was a great success.
Yeah.
That was then developed into a proper site, proper purpose-built site. We had amusement arcades, nightclubs.
Mhm.
We ended up big in nightclub business,
Yeah.
I opened our first discotheque, which was a bit of a revelation because at that time, they were the early days of the discotheque. So I'd been over to Spain
Yeah.
as a young boy and seen what was out there. And I came back, said, "Oh, Dad, we've got to do this." So my father and my uncle said, yeah, okay, but don't spend any money. And basically, I took everything that was in the place and painted it black, the whole place black. And we opened up, and it was a great success story. I mean, people were like queuing, like all summer long, you know, to get into the club. It was called the Stardust.
Yeah.
People still know the club now. It's not a nightclub anymore, but it was very famous. And that went on. And I first met Allison at one of our mutual friends' weddings at Great Yarmouth. Jimmy Swan, wasn't it, with Marcel Crowe, other show people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we first met. So,
That's correct, yes.
do you want to go on from there?
Not really, you carry on.
Okay. So, being, you know, people in the fairground business, we basically marry into each other's families. I mean, huge, you know, the weddings, like, you know, 500, 600, 1,000 people.
Wow.
You know, at each of the weddings, as many as you can get there, basically. But we tend to marry into each other's families because everybody knows what the score is at the end of the day. I mean, it's usually very long hours, unsociable hours, and the families work together. I mean, the mother, the father, the brother, the sister, etc. They all work. They all have their own jobs, and we know what's going on. So we really hit it off. We got married. Went down to Great Yarmouth. We had a small holiday resort with amusements and nightclubs, etc. And Allison was always wanting to come back to Arbroath to see her parents, naturally. Yeah. So we had the opportunity a year or so later to sell the complex, and we decided to move to Arbroath so Allison could be with her family.
Yeah.
Being very family orientated.
That's right, yeah.
You know, I missed the family terribly.
Yeah.
And it was a great opportunity to come back. And James also, he loved Scotland.
Yeah.
And wanted, you know, he wasn't forced to come back.
No.
He was delighted.
No.
With the move, so we moved back here. And
go on.
How long ago was that?
Oh goodness, about 36 years ago.
And we've been here ever since.
Yeah. So we came back.
Yeah.
We first started out at father's place down at Pleasureland for about a year or so as tenants down there, and I found spots for amusements locally around here. So we were in the amusement business, and I'd always had a hankering to get involved in the property business. And you weren't too keen on it, first of all.
I wasn't sure.
No,
I wasn't sure, but
no.
James went on about it quite a lot, and I thought his heart and soul really is in this, you know. So I said to him, look, if you really feel you want to do this, this is the right thing for you, if you feel so strong about it, and I think you should have a go at it, and I'll just leave you to it, you know.
So we started up. I used to go to a martial arts club here locally for many years actually, and there was a girl who used to go to the club, and she had a property in the town, and it got into a right state, and she asked me if I would renovate the property. Yeah. So I renovated the property, got it looking really nice, and she rented it out to a guy. About 6 months later, she said, James, she said, I'm having problems with this property. The guy's not paying. He said, I don't know what to do. My mortgage is in arrears. I need to get this fixed. So I went round to the guy and persuaded him to pay the back rent to the girl. So she was really pleased, really pleased about getting this money. She said, look, this really isn't the business for me. I can't stand the strain of it. She said, would you buy the property? So I spoke to Allison, who said, yeah, we'll buy the property. And we started Angus Properties. And that year, in the first year, I think we purchased 12 properties. Wow. And it just went on. I thought we'd get maybe 8 properties over a 10-year period. Yeah. You know, because we never had pensions at the time. Everybody was going on about pensions at that time. How much have you put in your pension? I'll put this so much in. Then all of a sudden, anyhow, you know, latterly, all the pensions went flat. You know, they had problems and that. But I thought, if we got 8 or 10 properties over a 10-year period, that would be our pension. But like I say, the first year we purchased about 12 properties, and it just escalated.
Yeah.
And we went on from there.
Wow.
So,
Alison, James mentioned that was it your father was involved with Pleasureland?
My father started Pleasureland.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Was it always in that sort of general area next to the stadium, or?
Well, yes, but before that,
Yeah.
we used to visit my family used to visit the town.
Yeah.
2 weeks before the summer holidays.
Yeah.
And we used to stay all that time till 2 weeks after the summer holidays. So it was a summer season.
Yeah.
And we were down at Gayfield as an outdoor fun fair.
Yeah.
But my dad was getting too old travelling about and setting up the dodgem and the waltzer, which was very hard work then. Also, my brother erected it with him. He did one machine and my father did the other. And he got to, I think it was about 69 years of age, and he said, I've had enough of this, I really need to stop travelling, it's too much for me. Also, for a long time he thought there were great prospects in just settling down here, and building Pleasureland.
Yeah.
That was his ambition. So he eventually did that, which unfortunately took a long time for him to get the planning permission, quite a few years. Anyway, that was passed, and
I think that he actually saw the idea with his brother-in-law, Gordon Cadona.
Yes.
Family from Aberdeen, Cadona's there. And he saw that what he'd done in Redcar. One of the brothers had gone to Redcar, put a building up like they've got down there, and said this is a success.
Yeah.
That's what her father wanted to reproduce here.
It's quite interesting history as well with Cadonas as well. That's another really interesting.
Most of the fairground families are connected, aren't they?
Yes.
One way or another.
Yes. Or great friends. He was great.
Yes.
Was great friends,
but they were connected as well. It was his
Alfred
brother-in-law with Gordon.
They were friends from childhood.
Yeah.
But your grandfather's on your mother's side has got a good history as well, hasn't he? He was from the circus business, very, very well known in the circus business, and the family is still now going in. They've got a place in Sarasota, in Florida.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have a big cat habitat.
They call it.
Yeah. But tell them about your grandfather, Frederick Ross, or Rosaire.
Well, he was from Lancashire, from Oldham in Lancashire, and worked on the cotton mills.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But he was a bit of an athlete and started, was it barrel jumping?
Yes.
Which is jumping in and out of barrels.
The wooden barrels.
Yeah.
Which it's not easy to jump in and out. Anyway, he ended up doing fetes, galas and different things. And they went on a sort of circus parade. And then, for some reason, he had the ambition to start a circus, and started the circus, and that was the business he ended up in.
It was quite a large family, wasn't it?
Yeah, they had 8 children,
8 children,
boys and girls, and they all did the circus acts.
Wow.
They were all the performers.
Yeah.
And my mother was a trapeze artist. She did the trapeze and bareback horse riding. They called it a ballerina on a horse. And one of my uncles was a clown, and the other one did the rings?
Yeah.
You pull the rings like that, and trampoline. And
you used to do a crucifix, what they call the crucifix,
the crucifix, that's on the rings when you hold your
hands out, and then
like that.
One of the brothers would jump on the bottom of his feet and hang from his feet while he was still doing it.
Wow.
Very clever.
I mean, amazing physiques, weren't they?
Yeah. Very talented family, and I think a couple of my other aunts, my mother's sisters, they did the trapeze also with my mother. She did it solo, but also with my mother. And yes,
when some of the family went to America, didn't they? Your uncle went over there to America, and they were quite well known in Las Vegas, weren't they?
Yes.
With their acts.
They worked in Las Vegas. Quite a few members of the family.
Yeah.
On various occasions worked in Las Vegas.
They were like well known over there. They were actually friendly with Laurel and Hardy.
Oh wow!
They were on the shows, weren't they?
Yes.
In the UK when they came over to the UK. I think it must have been. Was it after the war? After the war, yeah. I think they were doing a last stop tour in there, and they became friendly with Laurel and Hardy. They went over to one of your mother's brothers, Derek Rosaire. He was famous for having a horse act, wasn't he? And they had a bear as well, and they did TV work, and they were on a couple of the big American TV shows back in the 60s, weren't they? What was it Gentle Ben or something like that? The bear. And was it Tony was the horse?
Tony the talking horse.
Tony the talking horse. So he had these animals, and they were so well known over there. Everybody knew them. They were involved with an organisation called the Shriners. I think it's something similar to the Masonic Masons over here.
Yeah.
And they did a big circuit, didn't they, in the States over there. But we used to go and visit, didn't we, in Sarasota?
Yes.
And it's really quite bizarre because you know the whole place is full of animals.
Yeah. And
you just never knew what was around the corner. I mean, they got. We went one time. We went over there, and they're famous for these white tigers.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, would you like to feed the tiger cubs?" So I said, "Yeah, okay, fine." Well, they brought these 2 white tigers out, and they were bigger than me. They had the paws on my shoulders while I was feeding it the bottle.
Beautiful.
And we thought, oh, lovely, beautiful animals they were. Well, that evening we went out for a meal, didn't we, with them to celebrate, you know, being over there. And her cousin Kay, who had this big cat habitat, got a phone call that her son had been clawed by one of these tigers, white-capped tigers.
Because they were feeding at the time, and Kay, my cousin, had told her son, don't ever go near them when they're feeding.
Yeah.
Well, of course, he went in the cage and I don't know, what did he do?
They clawed all his head, didn't they?
Yeah,
They clawed the head.
Because obviously the cub must have thought he was trying to Clayton, the son, was trying to steal the food, you know? And it was a bad, you know, right? So obviously she had to go home.
But they love their animals, don't they? They absolutely love their animals. I mean, they eat, sleep with them, and you know, that's, you know,
they're very kind to them, you know.
Yeah, they're very well known, aren't they, over there?
Yes. So how did my father meet mother then? If she was in the circus and he was in the fairground, what happened was my granddad, the show, the circus, was touring Scotland for a season. And we went to Pitlochry, as we always did, for the Highland Games. With our fairground, and the circus was also in town. And my father saw my mother, I think she was 19. There was a sort of a little park with a gate, a high gate, and my mother jumped over the gate, being very fit with what she was doing. And my dad couldn't believe it. He thought she was a little girl because she was quite small, my mother. And anyway, she's lovely. Realised she was older than a little girl, and that's how they met. And that evening, all the families, the fairground families and the circus families, went out together to a dance in Pitlochry. And that's, the rest is history. That's how they got together. Yes.
James, you were on a BBC documentary, you told me, or
that's right.
And
it was.
That was because was it your great grandfather or someone related to you was a lion trainer?
That's correct.
James Wilson's great grandfather was the famous lion tamer and showman Lorenzo.
The BBC series was called Family Ties. It was a show that ran in conjunction with Who Do You Think You Are? Family Ties was 10 people with unusual backgrounds. So they knew that the BBC had found out that my great-grandfather was Frank Wilson. He went under Lorenzo, the Lion King.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very famous, you know, in the late 1800s, I think it was. He used to perform with lions and tigers. He would go to Balmoral, you know, with the royal family and that. They were the entertainment. They were like the, you know, they never had Netflix then.
No.
You know, that's what they used to have to do, you know, was to put on a show. So we've got photographs of him, and he would be adorned with all these medals, fancy medals, that they were like favours that were given by royalty, etc. You know, for appointments, you know, putting on shows and that. But it's Frank. He was a bit of a strange character in that he never had an awful long life. My grandfather was orphaned at a young age.
Yeah.
And that, but it is an interesting story. So, you know, anybody who is interested, have a look on. I think I'm not sure if it's on YouTube or not, but Family Ties, it is, yeah. And that was interesting. But they took me all over the country. The BBC, you know, did a really good job actually. And I found out a lot about my family. I found out where he was actually buried. And I went and found the grave, etc. Yeah, but it was interesting, and a lot of information came out through that show, which was good. Enjoyed it.
How did they get in contact with you?
How?
Yeah.
I believe it was they were probably looking for someone from a fairground or a circus background, and I'd been in touch with Dr. John Turner, I think it was, maybe, and he said, look, if you want someone with an unusual background, with colourful backgrounds, you know, go and speak to James Wilson about his great-grandfather. So that's what we did. Yeah. And we went around the country with it. But yeah, I mean, I've been told stories of my great-grandfather by my grandfather when I was young, that he used to carry a dual dagger in his side, which unfortunately he had to kill a lioness, and a lioness attacked him in the ring at one time, and what happened is that they found out afterwards that the lion had a bad abscess, and that's why he attacked my great-grandfather.
Was that like during a show, or was that?
That was during the show,
okay.
Because you know he would have had to have had the you know the dagger on, you know, while it was there. But yeah, he was an extremely fit man. Yeah. When he passed away, anyhow. But it was good, wasn't it? It was a good show. Yeah.
Strange those sort of like instances when like the show world and the real world sort of come together, like what you said there. I think I remember I was doing research on Buffalo Bill Cody, and there was one point when he was doing one of these shows, apparently someone challenged him to a duel. Yeah. And a lot of people thought that was fake, but he actually did. He killed him.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Really?
So,
well, you know, like I say, that he would have probably had contact with Buffalo Bill's show, because it was all, you know, that they were all show people at the time as well, weren't they?
That was, I think, probably back then he was probably the biggest person in the world. I would have thought Buffalo Bill. I think I remember reading that he had a show in the East End of Glasgow once. Yes. And that got nearly, I think, up to 500,000 people. So really, they did have noise.
Buffalo Bills did come to Arbroath.
Yeah, because I didn't really know that, because I tried to find out, and it said it was Perth and Forfar, but was it Arbroath as well? Yeah. Yeah,
I used to be friendly before he passed away. Sadly, was Bill Fleming that had the butchers here. Yeah. He used to collect a lot of art, and he had art by a local artist called James Waterston Herald, and he had this beautiful watercolour painting of Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. Yeah. And it was Arbroath. Wow. It was in Arbroath. It was beautiful watercolour and that, and that's how I know that Buffalo Bill came to Arbroath. Yeah. But they're actually fairground people as well. Their surname is Cody. Yeah. Apparently they were like children of Buffalo.
Gary Cody.
Yeah, that's right. Of Buffalo Bill. Yeah. You know, descendants. So yeah, they came over here and obviously got involved with them and that, and he had children with them.
Right, unfortunately that's all the time we've got left for today's episode, but I'd like to thank you both for joining me. That was really interesting, learning about your family's history, the fairground. Enjoyed that, thank you.
Thank you very much, Tyler, as well. I'm pleased that Alison's on the camera this time
Thank you,
as well.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
it's marvellous what you're doing.
Oh,
You
thanks.
know, you're capturing history here. So well done to you.
Well done, Tyler.
Well done.
Thanks. And thank you for watching.